Thank you. Can the Honourable Minister confirm whether the Board of Selection did not comprise of a gynecologist or consultant gynecologist, despite the fact that the scholarship was aimed at the subspecialty of gynecology, particularly fertility?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir. Normally, all the interviews conducted at the Ministry of Health involve the senior officials, that is the Director of Health Services. It's been the case always, and that has been the case. The selection was carried out by the Director's Health Service and the Ministry, the official of the Ministry.
I note your answer, Ministers. Don't you think it would have been fairer for senior doctors in gynecology who want to specialize in a subspecialty like fertility to be questioned and assessed by somebody who is versatile in obstetrics, namely a consultant, which there are plenty in the public sector? Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the answer to this question is by question. Do you think is it appropriate to have colleagues of the gynecologists interviewing their own colleagues?
Next question, MP Béranger.
B1664.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the decarbonization of the land and transport sector is high on the agenda of this government. With this in mind, several measures have been introduced through the successive budgets to promote e-mobility and induce an uptake in electric vehicles. Accordingly, bus operators can now avail under the bus modernization scheme a subsidy amounting to 30% of the cost of an electric bus, subject to a maximum of 3.5 million rupees per bus. In addition, in order to reduce the finance costs linked with the acquisition of an electric bus, the leasing rates provided by the Industrial Finance Corporation of Mauritius, which is government-owned, was reduced from 3% to 2%. A fleet renewal plan was devised by the National Transport Corporation for the replacement of its aging diesel buses with new electric propel buses. In fact, as the largest bus operator with a fleet of over 500 buses, the NTC is aiming to progressively renew its fleet with electric run buses. A feasibility study was conducted to this effect and revealed that the operation of electric buses would be beneficial to the NTC in terms of minimizing its carbon footprint, whilst also reducing its operational cost in terms of diesel consumption and repairs over the useful life cycle of these buses. As regards the acquisition of electric buses for the NTC, I have to inform the House that my ministry is liaising with the Indian authorities for the sourcing of 200 such buses. It has been agreed in principle that 100 out of the 200 electric buses would be in the form of a grant component, while the other 100 buses would be financed under a concessionary line of credit. In this context, the technical specifications for those buses have been worked out and are being finalized in consultation with the Indian authorities. To this end, my ministry is regularly interacting with the Indian authorities in order to agree on the technical components for the electric buses. Once same are finalized, needful will be done to formalize the above arrangement. However, as this entails a government-to-government approach, there is need to secure all relevant clearances and follow all the established process in connection with the above. Mr. Speaker, sir, in addition to the procurement of the buses, there is need to cater for the charging infrastructure for these buses. I am informed that a preliminary technical concept design for the depot of the NTC have been prepared in order to set out the electrical and civil infrastructure works required therefore. My ministry is therefore liaising with the Minister of Finance, Economic Planning and Development on the matter. Sir, I need to point out that electric bus technology is quite nascent in Mauritius, as there are very few such buses operating locally, including one which is being run by the NTC since February 2022. It is also to be pointed out that electric buses have an ecosystem of their own, as we need to cater for the associated charging infrastructure besides such buses having specific maintenance requirements. Similarly, we have to take into account the specificities of the local routes in terms of length, terrain, and topography thereof in order to determine the range and technical components of the buses. This requires a thorough understanding of the operational and maintenance requirements of such type of buses prior to replicating their operation on a bigger scale. This is why my ministry is laying much emphasis on the technical requirements so that we avail buses best suited to the Mauritian context. Thank you.
Le ministre est-il au courant que des employés de la compagnie nationale de transport ont publiquement regretté la lenteur administrative pour le décaissement des fonds permettant l'électrification des dépôts? Et s'il a été mis au courant, qu'est-ce qu'il compte faire pour remédier à la situation?
Speaker, sir, officially, the ministry or any other government authority has not received any complaint with regard to the delay in procuring these buses. But the honourable member should know, Mr. Speaker, sir, that we are, as I just explained, we are on another level when we are talking of electric buses, because we must assess, Mr. Speaker, sir, the most suitable type of buses adopted for Mauritius, as there is no one-size-fits-all with regard to electric buses. Electric bus technology, Mr. Speaker, sir, is much more complex than the normal acquisition of diesel-propelled buses. I say so, Mr. Speaker, sir, because when we are talking of electrical buses, we must understand that firstly, it's a new technology in Mauritius. As I just said, we have hardly any e-buses in Mauritius, but the delay, in inverted commas, is also due, Mr. Speaker, sir, that since the consultations and discussions started with the Indian authorities in the beginning of this year, several consultations have taken place between both authorities, Mr. Speaker, sir. We have had several virtual meetings with the Indian authorities. Both parties have been discussing regularly. There have been 36 specifications which were the subject of discussions, debate, consultations, and 33 of them have been cleared. We were left with 3 more complex specifications, but even with regard to these 3 specifications, we are nearly home, and now we are finalizing, therefore, the technical aspect of the deal, and once this is finalized, then the agreement will be signed. Then after the agreement is signed, I must inform the honourable member in the House also that a bidding exercise will be floated, a tender will be floated, and this exercise will be conducted by the Indian authorities, and they will decide which supplier is most apt and best to supply the buses for which we have prescribed the necessary specifications. So this is why this has taken such a long time, Mr. Speaker, sir. Although we are going to be granted 100 buses and we're going to acquire another 100 buses, Mr. Speaker, sir, we must be sure that the quality of these buses, the level of these buses that will be shipped to Mauritius are buses that will last in terms of the life battery, in terms of corrosion, in terms of seating capacity, and in terms of other specifications. Thank you.
I think the question has been sufficiently canvassed. I move to the other question. I call now Honourable Tour.
B1665.
Allow me, Mr. Speaker, sir, in the first place to thank the Honourable Member for this question, which gives me the opportunity to elaborate on the works having been undertaken in the government schools in the Port-West North and Montaillon region. Surveys and several visits were carried out by officers of the Infrastructure Management Unit of my ministry into schools in this region. The Honourable Member, along with 2 other MPs of the constituency number 4, have been regularly following works being carried out thereat. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed that since January 2020 till date, renovation works carried out in government primary schools and state secondary schools found in the constituency number 4, Paul North and Paul Motailong, have been carried out. The renovation works pertain to inter alia, waterproofing, repairs to spalling concrete, painting, replacement of CIS roofs in classrooms, replacement of electrical wiring, provision of air conditioners in ICT rooms and libraries, provision of metal canopy and shed, provision of high-rise fencing, toilet blocks, kitchenette and stores. The schools involved are Mohabia Fugwa Government School, Crève-Cœur Government Schools, Moselman Rafre Government School, Ramnarayan Government School, Pandit Jagdish Sharma Radhe Government School, Vallée des Prêtres Government School, La Briqueterie Government School, El Ciprel, Nicolet and Marcel Cabot Government Schools, and Paul North SSS Boys. I'm tabling the details of works undertaken in those schools and their respective costs. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm further informed that other renovation works are in the pipeline at Notre Dame Government School, Crève-Cœur Government School, Moselman Rafre Government Schools, Paul North SSS, and same will be completed before the end of this financial year.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. In her reply, the Honourable Minister mentioned about renovation in Moabe Fugwa Government School. The building of this school is a very old one, nearly 70 years old. Can the Honourable Minister inform the House whether consideration will be given for the building of a new school in the future?
Mr. Speaker, sir, we will have to be guided by the engineers at the MNI. We will ask them to carry out a survey, and in case they feel that the building, they recommend that the building be pulled down and a new one constructed, we'll move in that sense, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Can the Honourable Minister give us an indication of the total cost of renovation works carried out in government school in constituency number 4?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I can give the value for the part of the work that has already been completed. It is to the tune of some 78 million rupees.
I now call MP Rampal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. B 1666. Mr. Speaker, sir, the number of work permit application received by my Ministry for Foreign Workers for the period January 2019 up to 30th November 2023 is as follows. For the year 2019, new applications 18,754. For the year 2020, 5,920. 2021, 5,297. 2022, 20,585. 2023, that is as at the 30th of November, 18,868, which makes up a total of 71,424. As for renewal applications received, 2019, 18,223. 2020, 7,779. 21, 26,404. 2022, 20,171. And for the year 2023, 15,037. Mr. Speaker, sir, as regard to the country of origin of these workers, the information is being compiled and will be tabled soon. Mr. Speaker, sir, as at 30th of November 2023, there were 2,407 applications still under process. With regard to the processing time, as per Section 4.5 of the Non-Citizens Employment Restriction Act 1973, as amended in July 2023, all applications for work permit need to be completed within a period of 30 working days. This time frame is being strictly followed by my ministry, except for a few applications where extensive investigations and consultations have to be made.
I call Honorable Bada.
B1667, Monsieur le Ministre.
Monsieur le Président, j'ai été informé par la Mauritius Revenue Authority que les taxes sur les paris collectés auprès des points de vente de paris depuis l'exercice 2018-2019 jusqu'à ce jour s'élèvent à 4,8 milliards de roupies. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Ma question, c'était par rapport au nombre total de outlets. La semaine dernière, le ministre avait confirmé qu'il y avait, à partir de 2019,
auprès
il y avait
des
80...
points de vente. C'est auprès des points de vente.
Je dis, in regards to betting, le nombre total dans le pays. Est-ce que je peux demander au ministre le nombre total de betting outlets dans le pays?
Monsieur le Président, j'ai des renseignements auprès de la MRA qui me dit que les taxes sur les paris collectés auprès des points de vente, c'est ce que l'honorable m'a demandé. Donc auprès des points de vente, depuis l'exercice 2018-2019 jusqu'à ce jour, s'élève à 4,8 milliards de roupies. C'est ce que j'ai eu comme renseignement, oui.
Monsieur le ministre, quel est le nombre de betting outlets dans le pays? Le nombre... La semaine dernière, il a précisé qu'il y avait, depuis 2019, 83 nouveaux permis. Là, je demande combien de outlets il y a dans le pays sur le plan national.
Une seconde, Monsieur le Président. Je vais aller. La semaine dernière, je crois que j'avais parlé du nombre d'outlets.
Maybe you can circulate the reply.
J'avais 100... excusez-moi, Monsieur le Président. Je vais circuler. Je n'ai pas le nombre exact avec moi.
You circulate
Ouais,
the
yeah, I will
reply.
circulate it.
So next question, MP Dulab.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, B1668.
Mr. Speaker, sir, allow me to thank the honourable member with regard to coral restoration projects. Mr. Speaker, sir, coral farming, also known as coral aquaculture or coral propagation, involves cultivating and growing corals in controlled environments with the aim of restoring or replenishing coral reef ecosystems. These initiatives are crucial to allow us to face the challenges of climate change, coral bleaching, events due to fluctuation of sea temperature, overfishing, and pollution that have severely impacted coral reefs worldwide. The Coral Nursery project at Point Destiny is being implemented under the Restoring Marine Ecosystem Services by rehabilitating coral reefs to meet a changing climate future. Project which was approved by the Adaptation Fund of the UNDP in October 2018. This project is a regional project involving Mauritius, Rodrigues, and Seychelles. The government of Mauritius is co-funding the project for the upgrading of the land-based coral nursery at the Albion Fisheries Research Center, the construction of a land-based coral nursery and installation of a seawater pump at the Mauritius Oceanography Institute. Mr. Speaker, sir, initiated since November 2020, this 6-year project aims at reducing the impact of climate change on local communities and coral reef-dependent economic sectors in Mauritius, Rodrigues, and Seychelles by implementing coral reef restoration with thermal-tolerant corals as adaptation to climate change. Mr. Speaker, sir, following a procurement exercise conducted by UNDP, 3 non-governmental organizations have been retained, namely EcoSud and Reef Conservation for implementation of the project in Mauritius, and Shoals Rodrigues for Rodrigues. As at date, a total of 123 multi-layered rope nurseries and 278 table nurseries have been set up by EcoSud and Reef Conservation in the Grand Port Fishing Reserve, which includes Point Destiny. The 2 NGOs have already cultured around 30,000 coral fragments in those coral nurseries, and the aim is to culture 80,000 coral fragments in Mauritius and 11,000 in Rodrigues by the end of the project in November 2026. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is a fact that over the years our corals have been destroyed mainly through anthropogenic impacts out of ignorance due to lack of sensitization on the importance of corals for the marine ecosystem. The vision of my ministry is to enhance fisheries by fostering robust biodiverse ecosystems like marine protected areas and the propagation of corals to actively facilitate reef recovery through coral restoration projects. Mr. Speaker, sir, the marine ecosystem demands collective action and cooperation. It is said like a delicate masterpiece crafted over years by nature's patient hands, coral reefs embody resilience and beauty. Yet, in mere seconds, we human beings can destroy what took nature centuries to create. Right now, world leaders and experts are gathered at the COP28 conference in Dubai, where one of the major concerns is climate change, multifaceted impact among which degrading coral reefs and the urgent need for protection and restoration. Even if coral reefs account for less than 0.1% of the ocean floor, but support over 25% of the marine biodiversity, yet they are a lifeline for over 850 million people worldwide. Coral reefs act as ecological powerhouses and protect approximately 71,000 kilometers of coastline worldwide and help to mitigate natural disasters. Therefore, I take this opportunity to call upon each and every citizen of our country to become an ambassador to preserve what nature has gifted us by supporting the protection of our corals for the future of our oceans.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So the Minister, in his reply, just made a call for collective action. May we know from the Minister how are the fishermen and the local community involved in coral restoration programs currently being implemented?
Mr. Speaker, sir, all the coral farming projects in Mauritius being implemented by my ministry have a training component for the training of fishers and the local communities. Like similarly, the project which is being implemented in Point Destiny provides for training of fishers and other members of the local community in the targeted coastal regions, including the youth and even hotel personnel. The project involves the training of registered fishers and applicants also in two techniques of coral farming, and the project is jointly implemented by the Albion Fisheries Research Center and the Mauritius Oceanography Institute. As at date, registered some 300 registered fishers have been trained under this scheme.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, can the Minister clarify if there's been any recent occurrence of coral spawning in the region of Point Destiny and Maybuck?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir. In fact, coral spawning is a natural reproductive phenomenon in which corals release their eggs and sperm into the water simultaneously. This is good to note for all people to know. This synchronized release, often occurring at specific times of the year, allows for fertilization to take place in the surrounding ocean. So very recently we noted that in the region of Mayberg, there was a massive, despite Wakashu oil spill, there was a massive coral spawning which showed the good health of the mother colonies in that region. So one thing I want to draw the attention of everybody that there is an unpleasant odor emanating from coral spawning, which is entirely natural and harmless. Very often people think that it is pollution. So let me assure the House that this scent may be perceived as unpleasant, but it does not pose any harm or danger to humans.
Next question, MP Bulel.
Stroke 1669, please. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the answer is yes.
Minister will attend to, if Prime Minister intends to attend the COP.
Mr. Speaker, sir, for the question, if Mauritius is participating, the answer is yes. Now for the supplementary question, I shall give the details. Mauritius is signatory to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change since 1992. And since then, Participation of Mauritius is solicited in the conference of the parties commonly known as COP. The Mauritian delegation is led by the Honorable Minister of Environment, Solid Waste Management and Climate Change, and comprises the Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the Republic of Mauritius to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, UAE and Bahrain, officers of the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change Division, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Regional Integration and International Trade, the Attorney General's Office, and the Mauritius Meteorological Services.
There are many heads of states who are attending this meeting. Will Prime Minister Mauritius attend? Yes or no? It's as simple as that.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I have already mentioned the names of the delegation headed by my colleague, the Honourable Minister, and it replies the question of the Honourable Member.
So we move to the next question. MP Rabin.
B1670, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed by the Land Drainage Authority that the flood-prone areas identified within the jurisdiction of Vakwa Phoenix are as follows: 15 Cantons, Zinia and Apali, Aliman Lane, La Caverne, Pont Sinfa, La Caverne, Stevenson Road near ENT Hospital, Mosul Manuel, Phoenix, Nades and Rahel Road, Highland, junction of Terrouze Street, Canfoucro, Tuku Lane, Highland, Côte d'Or Road, Malakoff Avenue, Ramotor Lane, Camp Bélin, La Liberté au Vakwa, Acacia numéro 5, La Marie, Forest Lane, Lavani Road, Impasse Ram Jones, Sibalok Lane, Desverges Lane, and Rampat Lane. Mr. Speaker, I'm informed by the Municipal Council of Vakwa Phoenix that there has been no survey which has been conducted by it with regard to the assessment of the capacity of drain. Instead, within the framework of the National Flood Management Program, the Municipal Council of Vakwa Phoenix has appointed a consultant on the 8th of September 2023, namely Gibbs Mauritius Limited, for the design of drain project in the flood-prone areas in view of their complexity. The consultant has submitted a site visit report on October 2023, which has been reviewed by the LDA. The consultant is presently working on the recommendation of the LDA, and a final design report will be submitted by the consultant in a fortnight so as to enable the Municipal Council of Vakwa Phoenix to seek the clearance of the LDA prior to seeking financial clearance and invitation of bids. Moreover, a cumulative stretch of 25.57 kilometers of drain have already been cleaned by the Municipal Council of Vakwa Phoenix as at the end of October 2023. And this is an ongoing activity, as we all know. I wish to highlight that the maintenance plan of drain, rivers and canal is drawn by the LDA. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm further informed by the LDA that with a view to attenuating the flooding issues in other vulnerable areas within the jurisdiction of Vakwa Phoenix, a series of other measures are being implemented as follows: 65 drain projects by the National Development Unit, 59 drain projects by the Municipal Council of Vakwa Phoenix, 1 drain by the Drain Infrastructure Construction Limited. This one is a cut-off drain upstream of Malakoff to capture overland flows, and 9 drain projects, including reconstruction and upgrading of bridges along classified road by the Road Development Authority.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I ask the Vice Prime Minister whether the report from Gibbs will be tabled before this House or it will be kept at the Municipal Council for later designs of those drains?
I think we'll have to wait and see what the report says, and we'll have to get it from LDA as well, and then we'll decide on that.
Next question. I move to MP David.
B1671.
Mr. Speaker, sir, at the outset, I would like to inform the House
that electricity supply services at the Central Electricity Board are organized in terms of areas, namely Area North, Area South, and Area Center. Constituency number 1 falls within Area North. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am informed that metering and billing of electricity consumption is governed by the Electricity Metering, Billing and Collection Regulations made under the Electricity Act 2022. In accordance with the said regulations, a subscriber is provided a delay of 30 days to settle his current month's consumption charges to the Central Electricity Board. After expiry of this delay, a reminder is sent to the customer, and in addition, a surcharge of 5% is applied. The customer has another 30 days to settle the amount due, including the surcharge. The regulations also stipulate that any customer who fails to settle his electricity bill is liable to have his electricity supply disconnected. After 60 days, the customer is verbally informed of outstanding payment to the Central Electricity Board Contact Center. Prior to initiating the disconnection of electricity supply, the Central Electricity Board issues a written disconnection notice informing the customers of the overdue amount and that electricity will be disconnected if payment is not received within 7 days from the date of the letter. In the event that payment is still not effected, the Central Electricity Board proceeds with the physical disconnection of the supply on the basis of amount due, number of bills outstanding, and the meter reading unit. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to Part A of the question, as I have already informed the House, electricity supply services are not organized by constituency at the level of the Central Electricity Board. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Central Electricity Board has in place a media and communication plan to keep the public informed of settlement of outstanding balances and the occurrence of disconnection in case of non-payment of bills. These are regularly carried out through the press, personal calls to the subscribers through the Central Electricity Board Contact Center, reminders and displays on electricity bills. Mr. Speaker, sir, with respect to Part B of the question, I am informed that with a view to assist vulnerable households, the Central Electricity Board has introduced since December 2015 a concessionary social tariff which is classified under Tariff 110A. Mr. Speaker, sir, this tariff is applicable to some 70,500 vulnerable households, whereby a lower rate, which is 31% less as compared to other domestic customers, is charged for the first 75 kilowatt-hour of electricity consumption. The savings is equivalent to around 94 rupees 50 cents monthly. It may be noted that an average monthly bill under the concessionary social tariff is around 980 rupees. Furthermore, the Central Electricity Board has launched the Home Solar Project in 2018, where some 850 customers in the vulnerable group have been provided a free solar PV installation for the generation of electricity. They will benefit up to 75 kilowatt-hour free electricity, equivalent to 307 rupees per month. A second phase of the Home Solar Project is underway, targeting some 2,000 additional customers in the vulnerable category. Additionally, I am informed that payment facilities are granted by the Central Electricity Board on a case-to-case basis to assist customers having difficulty to settle their outstanding payment. Old age pensioners are furthermore granted an additional period of 14 days to settle their electricity bills without the application of the statutory late payment surcharge. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Monsieur le Président, ma question était axée spécifiquement sur les déconnexions d'électricité au sein des foyers. Plusieurs familles vulnérables, malgré le tarif social, se voient souvent couper leur électricité, parfois pour des montants relativement faibles, parfois même à moins de 1000 roupies, et se voient quand même de payer un reconnection fees de 450 roupies en plus du montant dû. Puis-je demander au ministre quelles sont les dispositions ou les aides qui sont prévues dans ces cas d'extrême nécessité?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I've given in my reply with regard to those families falling under the vulnerable group, there is first of all a special tariff which is tariff 110A, where you are charged with a lower rate, that is a rate which is 31% less as compared to other domestic consumers. Then I've also stated that for the same category of customers, we have introduced the home solar project since 2018, where some 850 families have been provided with free solar PV installation. So there are a series of measures, Mr. Speaker, sir. And then let me add also, we have given special attention to the most vulnerable members of our society. We've addressed numerous challenges, Mr. Speaker, sir, ranging during economic crisis or public health emergencies, whereby we have taken a series of measures to help those vulnerable families. For example, during the period of the COVID-19 pandemic, we gave a special discounted tariff of 20% to the vulnerable customers, Mr. Speaker, sir, and we had a COVID relief discount which was provided to eligible customers on 2 months' electricity bills. And if you see the figures, Mr. Speaker, sir, as compared to 2013 and 2014, the number of disconnection has decreased, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Monsieur le Président, un peu comme au temps de la guerre, car croyez-moi, pour certains, payer leur facture d'électricité est un combat. Puis-je demander au ministre s'il peut considérer une trêve de Noël afin qu'aucun compteur CEB ne soit déconnecté en cette période festive, et ce jusqu'à fin janvier, et pas seulement dans la circonscription numéro 1.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I've enumerated the number of facilities given. We have been Father Christmas before Christmas, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Next question, MP Navarre-Marie.
B1672.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the setting up of a National Arts Centre at Regnault-Morel-Petit-Raffray is a measure which was announced in the budget speech 2022-2023. This project is a priority project of my ministry and aims at, inter alia, offering an artistic space for artists to network, collaborate with their peers and create new works, making cultural and artistic events more accessible to people residing in that region, providing a platform to artists for the organization of workshops, training programs, educational outreach initiative, thus contributing in nurturing local talents and providing them with opportunities to develop their skills. and also reducing pressure on existing theatres for the holding of artistic events. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to this question, I'm informed that for the design and construction of the National Arts Centre at Réunion Morel Petit Raffray, tender was launched through open national bidding by my ministry on the 23rd September 2022 on the e-procurement system. At the time of the opening of the bids, on the 30th November 2023, 3 bids were received. And following an evaluation of the bid by the bid evaluation committee set up by my ministry, 1 bid was found to be technically and financially responsive, and a letter of notification of award was thus issued to the successful bidder. Since one of the unsuccessful bidders lodged a challenge at the independent review panel, my ministry could not proceed with the award of the contract to the selected bidder. Following the hearing of the challenge, my ministry was requested to proceed with a fresh evaluation of the bids. A new bid evaluation committee was thus constituted, and following this exercise, none of the bids were found to be responsive. A fresh bidding exercise with revised specification and estimated cost was consequently launched by my ministry, again through open national bidding on the 14th July 2023 on the e-procurement system. However, due to some technical problems on the e-procurement system, at the time of opening of the bids on the 12th of September 2023, the procurement exercise had to be cancelled in line with Section 39(1)(f) of the Public Procurement Act 2006, following advice from the Procurement Policy Office. A new bidding exercise was again launched for the 3rd time on the 21st September 2023. At the time of the opening of the bids on the 27th October 2023, 3 bids were received. In line with the procurement procedures, the bid evaluation committee was set up to evaluate the bids, and the technical evaluation report was submitted on the 18th of November 2023, where all the bids were found to be technically non-responsive. The bidders who participated in the bidding exercise have been informed of the outcome of the exercise on the e-procurement system on the 1st December 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, since this project is a priority, not just for the ministry, but also for the artist community in general, my ministry is currently reviewing again the bidding document for relaunching. I'm informed that the bidding exercise will be relaunched through open national bidding on the e-procurement system by the end of this week.
Monsieur l'honorable ministre, peut-il nous donner des explications sur les raisons pour lesquelles c'est compliqué pour les bidders de venir? Quels sont les problèmes exactement?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I never said it was complex or there is any issue. What I've said is that the first bid, it was launched. We received 3 bids. One was technically and financially responsive, and notification of award was also issued. But one unsuccessful bidder challenged that award at the level of the independent review panel. So it was reassessed and unfortunately didn't go through. The second exercise that was launched, there was a technical issue on the e-procurement system. So nothing to do with the bidding document or the bidding exercise per se. And the third exercise, unfortunately, because each and every time we launch bid, I'm informed that there are certain modifications to be made to the bidding document. So the last one was non-responsive. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, we are having to relaunch a 4th time.
Sufficiently convinced, we move to the next question. MP Osman Mohamed.
B1673.
Monsieur le Président, le 10 août 2023, IDB a reçu une demande du ministère du Logement et de l'Aménagement du Territoire pour lancer un appel à manifestation d'intérêt pour le projet Palmar. Le plan directeur du projet Palmar, élaboré par le ministère du Logement et de l'Aménagement du Territoire, sur une superficie de 310 arpents et 40 perches, a été reçu par l'Economic Development Board le 9 septembre 2023. Il comprend une zone aménageable de 238 arpents et 10 perches, qui prévoit le développement d'hôtels, de projets liés à l'écotourisme, de résidences pour personnes âgées, ainsi que d'installations commerciales et de loisirs comme suit. 3 sites hôteliers d'une superficie totale de 80 arpents, avec un accès direct à la route côtière en face de la plage publique. 7 sites pour des projets liés au tourisme, d'une superficie de 6 à 7 arpents chacun. Un site pour un projet d'écotourisme d'environ 45 arpents et 64 perches. 2 complexes commerciaux sur des terrains de 23 arpents et 66 perches et 15 arpents et 76 perches, respectivement. Un site pour un restaurant d'une superficie de 2 arpents, un site pour une maison de retraite d'une superficie de 17 arpents et 41 perches, un site pour un marché artisanal d'une superficie de 4 arpents et 80 perches, et des zones pour des espaces verts et une usine de dessalement. Monsieur le Président, en ce qui concerne la partie A de la question, je suis informé que l'Economic Development Board a lancé le 7 octobre 2023 un appel à manifestation d'intérêt pour le développement d'une zone à usage mixte à Palma, et qu'à la date de clôture du 24 novembre 2023, 12 demandes ont été reçues. Les noms des demandeurs sont les suivants: United Docks Limited, Travel Bridge Limited, AWL Trading and Contracting Company Limited, Strathmore Coal and Commodity Limited, Simplex Coke and Refractory Limited, Nextera Global Private Limited, Lateral Holding Limited, Carats Hospitality Limited, Strathmore Industries Limited, Sotravic Limited, Glen Eagles 2 Company Limited, Safety Construction Company Limited. En ce qui concerne la partie B de la question, IDB a été informé par le ministère de l'Environnement que les dispositions actuelles de l'Environment Protection Act ne font pas mention d'une évaluation stratégique de l'environnement. Toutefois, le développement de la zone à usage mixte de Palmar sera soumis aux dispositions des parties A et B de la 5e annexe de l'Environment Protection Act 2002, c'est-à-dire que ce développement fera l'objet d'un rapport environnemental préliminaire ou d'une autorisation d'IAE selon le cas. Merci.
Do you have any interest to declare in this question? Yeah, no.
What kind of question is that?
This is standing order.
Okay, thank you.
You laugh as if you don't know that.
I know. That,
No, I'm teaching you.
If I had, I would have told you myself.
It's my duty.
Thank you. Can I ask the Honourable Minister whether he is aware that the sites comprise of 70 acres of wetland, especially where the hotel site and the project title and other ecotourism projects are, and that the EDB has specified 30 meters of setback only with this wetland? And does he not, being given that he himself has said that the site will not be subjected to a strategic environment assessment, whether the Republic of Mauritius will not be against the provision of the Ramsar Convention, for which the Republic is a signatory?
Monsieur le Président, je prends note de la question de l'honorable membre par rapport au respect avec les wetlands, et je vais transmettre à l'IDB. Moi, j'ai eu les informations de l'IDB par rapport à ceux qui ont fait des demandes pour ce projet. L'honorable membre vient de nous informer qu'il y a des wetlands et que l'IDB est en train de demander que 30 mètres. Moi, je vais demander les informations et le transmettre à la Chambre.
The Honourable Minister has made mention of a desalination plant. Can I ask him which entity is going to invest in this desalination plant, and whether this desalination plant will make it that the 238 acres will be autosufficient in water provision, being given that the region of Palma itself, Belmar and Trou-de-Douce are water-stretched areas?
Encore une fois, Monsieur le Président, je remercie l'honorable membre pour cette question. J'ai des informations par rapport à ce qu'il a demandé concernant le nombre de demandes, etc. Mais par rapport au projet, vous savez bien, ce genre de projet, c'est un document de plusieurs centaines de pages. Je vais voir par rapport à la question qu'il a demandée et je vais fournir à la Chambre les renseignements qu'il a demandés. D'accord.
MP Richard Duval.
Yes, thank you. B 1674.
Mr. Speaker, sir, in reply to part A of the question, I am informed that as it has been the case for many years, a monitoring mechanism is in place at the level of all regional hospitals to ensure overall food safety procedures at each stage of operation. At the delivery stage, fresh provision are checked by the catering supervisory staff to ensure that same are fresh and of good quality. At the level of storage, vegetables and fruits received from suppliers are placed into separate clean plastic crates in cold rooms. Frozen foods are stored in separate crates in freezers to avoid cross-contamination. Monitoring unit in the storage section of the catering unit is done by the officer of the catering unit. As far as the preparation of food is concerned, the basic food safety fundamentals are observed and applied while handling food items in the catering department, namely wearing of protective equipment, hand hygiene, and cooking at right temperature. Cooked food is delivered to patients in preheated trolleys, and afterwards all catering facilities are cleaned up and leftovers are properly labeled for disposal. Moreover, the following measures are taken to ensure a safe and hygienic environment with regards to food safety. Rodent control is carried out on a weekly basis in the catering unit, including stores. Regular disinfection and checks are carried out by the Public Health and Food Safety Inspectorate in the catering unit and stores. Catering unit is fitted with wire netting in all openings to prevent entry of insects, and UV lights are available inside the cooking area. Internal Audit Control Unit of my ministry carries out regular inspections in the catering unit. Samples are collected for microbiological and chemical analysis at Government Analysis Division and Central Health Laboratory at regular intervals. Mr. Speaker, sir, there are also controls at each level to avoid any food safety hazard, such as visual inspections of food items, tasting and verifying of expiry dates. This exercise is carried out on a daily basis at delivery and reception points of catering unit and before sending meals to patients. In reply to part B of the question, Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that daily monitoring is carried out at the catering units at hospital levels as previously elaborated to ensure that food is safe. Also wish to point out that there is no adverse report, no complaints from patients as such on the quality of food prepared in the catering unit and served to patients.
Thank you. Can the Honourable Minister state whether all the staff involved in food handling in public hospitals, be it those in the kitchen and those in the store, has followed courses in regards to food safety and food handling?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir. As far as those staff working in the kitchen, you can rest assured that they have followed courses by the MIH and the École Hôtelière for the handling of food items. This is, I can assure you.
We move to the next question. Honorable Itu. We move to MP Anctil.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président. B 1676.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that the
Bedutombo Child Daycare Center was indeed unfortunately subject to acts of vandalism during nighttime after the closure of the center. The damages incurred involve broken window panes, and the same has already been repaired. There's a police investigation that is ongoing to identify the perpetrators. Thank you.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président. Monsieur le Président, la sécurité des enfants dans les garderies est une priorité absolue. Sachant que la garderie a été vandalisée à 4 reprises, le 8, le 9, le 13 et le 30 novembre, la ministre trouve-t-elle acceptable et sérieux qu'il ait fallu attendre le 1er décembre, autant de jours avant que son ministère ne déploie un agent de sécurité alors qu'il n'y a pas de caméra de surveillance dans la cour de cette garderie? Merci.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the honourable member should note that this daycare centre has been operational since the year 2006, and the parent ministry, which is my ministry, has always tendered private security services to date. However, we have been made aware that for a certain period of time, the contract of the security services had lapsed. The National Children Council has informed the parent ministry that we should be going ahead to hire the security services again, and arrangements to that effect have been made. But let me reiterate, Mr. Speaker, sir, that the daycare centre has never been without security services since its operation in 2006.
Selon mes informations, il n'y a pas d'agent de sécurité. Est-ce que la ministre pourrait nous expliquer comment son ministère a autorisé l'installation d'une garderie au rez-de-chaussée et d'un centre de femmes à l'étage du même bâtiment, alors que cette configuration est inadaptée du point de vue sécurité? Envisage-t-elle, est-ce que la ministre pourrait nous indiquer si elle envisage de demander à ses officiers de délocaliser le centre pour femmes afin de garantir le maximum de sécurité aux enfants de la garderie? Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I can reassure the honourable member that, first of all, she has mixed her apples as usual. She is asking about the Women Empowerment Centre and the Child Daycare Centre. When the Women's Centre was closed, the PQ was about why is it not open. Now that it is open, the PQ is about the children downstairs. Mr. Speaker, sir, my ministry has always and will carry on working in the best interest of the child and for the empowerment of women, but within whatever means are allocated in terms of budgetary measures. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
MP Leopold.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. B1677.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to update the members of the House on the progress concerning construction of a new hospital in Rodrigues. In May 2019, my predecessor, Honorable Usnu, former Minister of Health, visited Rodrigues and pledged to support for the implementation of a master plan for health services in the region as part of the broader health sector strategic plan 2020-2024 for the Republic of Mauritius, adopted by the government in 2020. A dedicated component focuses on Rodrigues. Strategic goal 3.2 specifically underscores the development of hospital infrastructure for improved and specialized services in Rodrigues. In March 2023, the Commissioner for Health in Rodrigues communicated to my ministry about consultations held with United Nations representatives and the WHO, in principle, express agreement to participate in various projects in the health sector for Rodrigues, including the feasibility study for the construction of a modern hospital in Rodrigues. Mr. Speaker, sir, my ministry received the terms of reference for consultancy services related to the construction of a modern hospital in Rodrigues. The overarching objectives of this consultancy area: first, improve the quality of healthcare services, specifically for patients attending health services. Second, increase bed capacity for the admission and treatment of patients. Third, enhancing efficiency in managing medical and non-medical stock. Fourth, improving the effectiveness of support services with greater responsiveness and increased capacity. And fifth, providing a safer and improved working environment for staff, ensuring efficient delivery of quality services to the population. Mr. Speaker, sir, a project of such magnitude demands careful planning, considering Rodriguez's needs for at least next 50 years. Therefore, seizing the in-principle offer of the WHO, my ministry has submitted the terms of reference for their positive consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Would my Honourable Minister inform the House whether he will be allowed other people to give input in terms of planning so we can have a good hospital?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. So in fact, MPs are invited to give their inputs to the consultancy through the WHO, so that the hospital that will come up in coming years, that would be in taking consideration all stakeholders, and your inputs also, you are welcome to make this project happen in the coming years.
MP Bulel.
You B-stroke 1678.
Mr. Speaker, sir, following the launch of the attack by Hamas on Israel on the 17th of October 2023, I would like to inform that on the 24th of October 2023, my colleague, the Honourable Manish Gobin, made a statement to the House informing that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Regional Cooperation and International Trade had promptly, that is on the 8th of October 2023, issued a communiqué expressing our deep concerns over the situation and calling upon all parties concerned to refrain from taking actions that would spiral to more violence. Mauritius reaffirmed its long-standing support to the two-state solution with Israel and Palestine existing side by side for an enduring peace. Sir, subsequently, following the attack on the Al-Ali hospital in Gaza, causing the loss of numerous lives on the 17th of October 2023, on the next day, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Regional Cooperation and International Trade issued another communiqué expressing our concern on the deteriorating situation and reiterating our solidarity with the families of all victims of this conflict. Mauritius also called on all parties to implement an immediate ceasefire and encourage an ongoing regional and international initiatives for a peaceful resolution of this conflict. My colleague, the Honourable Manish Gobin, further informed the House on the 24th of October 2023 that Mauritius commended Egypt for its initiative to host a conference on the Middle East on the 21st October 2023, and while reiterating our support for all ongoing efforts aimed at diffusing the crisis. In another statement on the 31st of October 2023, he informed the House that Mauritius had voted in favor of the United Nations General Assembly Resolution A/ES10/L.25, tabled by Jordan, which was overwhelmingly adopted by 120 votes in favor, 14 against, and 45 abstaining, expressing strong support for all regional and international efforts aimed at achieving an immediate cessation of hostilities, ensuring the protection of civilians, and providing humanitarian aid. The resolution also called for an immediate, durable, and sustained humanitarian truce leading to a cessation of hostilities. I have to mention that the adoption of the Yunga resolution by a wide majority of states did sensitize the international community on the issue, thus paving the way for a collective effort towards obtaining a ceasefire. As matters stand, Mauritius was hoping that the announcement of a temporary truce between Hamas and Israel beginning on the 24th of November 2023 and the release of hostages by both parties would pave the way for a permanent ceasefire. Unfortunately, sir, this ceasefire did not last, and Israel has resumed its attack in Gaza, causing a continued humanitarian catastrophe. We support all initiatives for a cessation of all hostilities, a sine qua non condition for the resumption of peace talks. Sir, moreover, during the first Saudi-Africa summit held in Riyadh on the 10th of November of this year, chaired by His Royal Highness Mohammed bin Salam Al Saud, Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the Mauritius delegation led by Dr. the Honorable Anwar Asnu, Vice Prime Minister and Minister of Local Government and Disaster Risk Management, inter alia, reiterated the commitment of Mauritius to the primacy of international law and the adherence to humanitarian and peace instruments in view of the ongoing conflict in Gaza. My colleague, Dr. the Honorable Anwar Asnu, also highlighted the consistent support of Mauritius for the legitimate aspiration of the Palestinian people to statehood in accordance with the two-state solution, and calling upon the international community to support an immediate ceasefire as well as an early resolution of the conflict. Sir, the House would also be aware that the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people is observed by the United Nations on the 29th of November each year. In that context, in a message addressed to His Excellency Mr. Mahmoud Abbas, the President of the Palestinian National Authority, the Honorable Prime Minister reaffirmed the unflinching support and solidarity of Mauritius with the legitimate struggle of the Palestinian people and their inalienable rights for self-determination on the basis of the two-state solution in accordance with all relevant United Nations resolutions. The Honorable Prime Minister, sir, also reiterated the support of Mauritius on all initiatives for an immediate and permanent ceasefire. Mauritius also expressed its support to international calls for an early resumption of negotiations between Palestinians and Israelis without any preconditions. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I ask the Honourable Minister, since he mentioned about humanitarian aid, whether consideration can be given for Republic of Mauritius to make a donation to the Palestinian people, just like it has made to Madagascar, Haiti, Mozambique, and Tonga, for which we are being asked to vote next week in the estimates of supplementary expenditure.
Yes. Two things, perhaps, Mr. Speaker, I should raise in answer to the question. Firstly, Mauritius contributes to the United Nations Relief Fund, and secondly, we have not prohibited any initiative in the country at grassroots level for the mobilization of resources to be shipped or to be sent to the victims of this Israel-Hamas conflict. Palestine
Next
conflict.
question, MP Fouquet, Bachar.
Et 1679.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I refer to the statement which I made during the parliamentary debates on the Child Sex Offenders Register Act of 2020. That was in November 2020, where I stated that I would consider introducing chemical castration as a sentence for offenders falling under the class 3 offences of the Child Sex Offenders Register. Mr. Speaker, sir, chemical castration is common. Mr. Speaker, sir. Chemical castration is commonly known as the administration of hormonal drugs to reduce testosterone levels in male sexual offenders with a view to preventing cases of reoffending. It applies to perpetrators of sexual offences such as rape or attempt upon chastity, irrespective whether the victim is a child or an adult. I wish to inform the House that initial internal consultations on this matter have already been made at the level of my ministry, Yet it can also not be denied that the subject is much more complex and requires wider consultations with the judiciary, the Attorney General's Office, the Ministry of Health and Wellness, Human Rights Commission, human rights activists, only to name a few, so that we can examine the different aspects pertaining to chemical castration and to explore the possibility of introducing this form of treatment in Mauritius. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to refer the House also to the December 2022 issue paper on chemical castration treatment for sex offenders published by the Law Reform Commission, which contains an analysis of the various aspects pertaining to the subject. It is viewed that the treatment constitutes an important transgression of the integrity of the person and has biological bearings on his libido. The report also refers to Section 7(1) of the Constitution, which provides protection for every citizen against torture, inhuman or degrading punishment or other such treatment. Hence, Mr. Speaker, sir, the Commission viewed that if such treatment shall not be mandatory, it is unlikely that it would fail the test of constitutionality. Mr. Speaker, sir, as very rightly concluded by the Law Reform Commission, that there is need to contemplate various essential aspects. For instance, whether the treatment would be ordered at the discretion of the court, or would it be mandatory, whether judges need to be assisted by a court-appointed medical expert, the duration of the treatment, the cost implication of such a treatment, and most importantly, there's also the need to consider which treatment to introduce, because there are reversible ones, there are irreversible castration treatments, which one is less controversial, and also taking into account everything to do with the legal and constitutional implications. Hence, Mr. Speaker, sir, in view of the complexity of the matter, like I said, much deeper and wider consultations need to be considered. Meanwhile, we have in place a deterrent mechanism since 2022 with the implementation of the Child Sex Offender Register by the Commissioner of Police in a view of monitoring and tracking perpetrators who have been found guilty of committing sexual offences against our children. Thank you.
I move to MPQT.
B1680. Mr. Speaker, sir, the question of my ministry having granted authorization for the organization of professional boxing events in Mauritius does not arise. Moreover, I'm informed by the Association Mauricienne de Boxe that it has not granted permission for the organization of professional boxing events in Mauritius. Thank you.
Si ni le ministère des Sports, ni l'Association mauricienne de boxe n'a donné l'autorisation aux promoteurs, le ministre est-il en train de nous dire que ces combats professionnels ont été organisés au complexe sportif de Côte d'Or sans que son ministère en soit informé?
Monsieur le Président, être informé et donner la permission, c'est autre chose. Mon ministère ne donne aucune permission pour l'organisation d'activités sportives. Nous avons les fédérations qui sont enregistrées, dûment enregistrées avec le Registrar of Association, et ces fédérations bénéficient d'un budget. À aucun moment, ces fédérations doivent avoir, c'est pas comme un PMI qu'on retire pour l'organisation de tel et tel événement. Une fédération sportive peut organiser une activité sportive sans même informer, sans même demander la permission et bien sûr sans demander l'aide financière. Donc, ce n'est pas à mon ministère de retirer. We are not a licensing authority.
La réponse du ministre, je ne saurais comment qualifier. Et je n'ai jamais dit...
Mr. Speaker, sir, on a point of order.
Je retiens ce que j'ai dit. Je retire.
The honorable member is not here to comment on my answer. Oh. Non. Pas rentre là-dedans. Pas rentre là-dedans. Pas rentre
C'est ce que j'ai dit.
Forward.
Yes. Et à aucun moment, je n'ai affirmé
Don't debate.
que c'est l'association mauricienne de boxe qui a octroyé le PMI. Right. Ma question est simple. Comment peut-on organiser une activité de cette envergure au complexe sportif de Côte-d'Or sans que le ministère, il vient de le dire, son ministère ne donne pas d'autorisation, je comprends parfaitement bien, mais j'affirme que l'association mauricienne de boxe non plus n'a pas autorisé la tenue de cet événement au complexe sportif de Côte-d'Or. Donc, comment cette compétition peut-elle se tenir sans autorisation de quelque autorité?
Monsieur le Président, l'équipe qui a organisé la compétition a fait une demande de location à payer le complexe sportif. Il n'y a aucune loi, je le redis, il n'y a aucune loi qui interdise un groupe, une compagnie et business entity to...
Wait.
Monsieur le Président, je reprends pour que ce soit clair pour la population. Please, let me reply.
What is happening?
30 ans dans la marine, pas comprendre affaire là.
He is a minister. You are a backbencher, he is a minister. He is replying. Listen to the reply.
Keep cool. Je le redis, il n'y a aucune loi dans le pays qui interdise une entité d'organiser un événement sportif, culturel, etc. Je le redis, il y a un groupe qui a organisé une compétition de boxe professionnelle et il n'est écrit à aucun moment, quelque part, dans une loi, ni dans le Sportsat, que les gens, les organisations doivent avoir l'autorisation écrite du ministère. C'est une initiative privée et commerciale. La fédération, je l'ai dit, la fédération aussi n'a pas donné, moi je ne sais pas si l'entité a écrit, a demandé la permission à la fédération. Ça, c'est pas le travail de mon ministère. Je suis désolé. L'honorablement m'est assez longtemps dans l'opposition pour avoir posé des questions sur le sport. Les petits bien connaissent. En gros, bien prendre.
You want to stay in the house? MP2.
1681.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed that the NDU has undertaken site visit and initiated consultations with the different stakeholders concerned, including the Ministry of Housing, Land and Use Planning, the Forestry Services, and the Road Development Authority with regard to the construction of an access road to Boulingrin, Long Mountain. It has been found that the project is very complex and includes the construction of a new access road which involves excavation works, ground leveling, preparation of sub-base and base course layers, and the laying of the asphaltic wearing course, which would involve high costs as well as warranting acquisition of private-owned land. Mr. Speaker, sir, however, in view of the complexity of the project, it has been entrusted to the Road Development Authority for implementation.
MPS Yavaden.
B1682.
Mr. Speaker, sir, with your permission, I will reply to this parliamentary question. Mr. Speaker, sir, following the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic in the country, government in the 2020-2021 budget speech announced that there was need for tighter control on recurrent expenditure, and therefore decided that there would be no cash refund exceptionally for unutilized sick leave for the year 2020. Based on the above announcement, the PRB in its 2021 report has recommended that the monetary value of the untaken sick leave for the year 2020 should be kept in a separate account and refunded to the beneficiary at the time of retirement or when the government so deems fit, bearing in mind the financial soundness of the economy, and the amount kept in the separate account may be used by officers for medical expenses, treatment for themselves or immediate members of their family. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is to be noted that for officers proceeding on retirement, they are not being penalized as their unutilized sick leaves for the year 2020 are being paid in full in line with the provisions of the PRB, of the 2021 PRB report. As for serving officers, their unutilized sick leaves for the year 2020 have been kept in a separate bank of sick leaves as per the 2021 PRB report. As such, no provision has been made in the 2023-2024 budget for the refund of the unutilized 2020 sick leaves. Thank you.
The table has been advised that PQB 1688, 1691, 1695, 1692 have been withdrawn. Time over.
Motion.
Motion.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10.
Seconded.
Seconded.
The question that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10. Those in favor say aye, those against say no. Aye. Ayes have it.
Statements by ministers.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I have just listened to the answer of the Acting Minister for Foreign Affairs, who answered a question on the ongoing armed conflict between Israel and Hamas. But I think it is important that I make a statement on the stance of Mauritius on the Israel-Palestine conflict. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am moved and shocked by the gravity of this issue, which despite being on the international agenda for decades, has not so far fully addressed the plight of the Palestinian people. Mauritius, as a peaceful and pluricultural society, is committed to upholding the rule of law and the peaceful resolution of conflicts. My government has consistently demonstrated our unwavering support for Palestine, advocating for a just and enduring resolution of this long-standing conflict. As a firm believer in the rule of law and respect for international law, Mauritius condemned the attack on Israel by Hamas on the 7th of October 2023 and equally condemned the disproportionate and indiscriminate attack by Israel on innocent Palestinians, during which women, children, infants, as well as international officials continue to be brutally killed. Since the 7th of October 2023, following the launch of the attack by Hamas on Israel, we have witnessed immense suffering and loss of lives of innocent civilians on both the Palestinian and Israel sides. According to the latest reports from the United Nations agencies, as at 30th of November 2023, since the start of hostilities, more than 15,000 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza, including about 6,150 children and 4,000 women. Around 80% of the population in Gaza, that is up to 1.8 million people, are estimated to be internally displaced. Mr. Speaker, sir, the question of Palestine was first brought to the United Nations General Assembly in 1947. In 1974, the question of Palestine was reintroduced on the agenda of the General Assembly, which adopted a resolution reaffirming the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people to self-determination, national independence and sovereignty, and the right of the Palestinians to return to their homes. The question of Palestine has subsequently been the subject of numerous resolutions and decisions adopted by the United Nations General Assembly, be it at regular, special, or emergency sessions. At the United Nations and in other international fora, such as the African Union, the Non-Aligned Movement, and the Group of 77, Mauritius has consistently supported the right of the Palestinians to have their own states. That will remain the position of Mauritius. That is why Mauritius has called for an urgent resolution of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict through the establishment of an independent, viable, and prosperous Palestinian state within secure and recognized borders, living in peace alongside the State of Israel under the two-state solution framework. Mauritius has also called for an end to the Israeli occupation that first began in June 1967 with Israel's policies of land confiscation, illegal settlement, and dispossession. In line with our affirmed and declared position, Mauritius has been voting in favor of United Nations resolutions on the question of Palestine. On 26 of October 2023, following the failure of the United Nations Security Council to stop the indiscriminate killings of Palestinians, an emergency special session of the General Assembly was convened under the Uniting for Peace initiative on the illegal Israeli actions in occupied East Jerusalem and the rest of the occupied Palestinian territory. Mauritius participated in the debates and called for the immediate cessation of hostilities and urged all states to come to the negotiating table and revive peace talks in good faith. Mauritius voted in favor of the resolution which called for an immediate, durable, and sustained humanitarian truce, leading to a cessation of hostilities and demanding the immediate, continuous, sufficient, and unhindered provision of essential goods and services to civilians in Gaza. The resolution also expresses deep concern at the escalation of violence since 7th of October 2023 and severe deterioration of the situation in the region, in particular in the Gaza Strip. It condemns all acts of violence aimed at the Palestinian and Israeli civilians, including all acts of terrorism and indiscriminate attacks, as well as acts of provocation, incitement, and destruction. It emphasizes that civilians must be protected in accordance with international humanitarian law and international human rights law, and deplores, in this regard, the heavy civilian casualties and widespread destruction. In my annual statements at the United Nations General Assembly, I have consistently expressed the unwavering support of Mauritius for the Palestinian cause. In the statement which I delivered this September, I emphatically declared, and I quote, "We reaffirm our solidarity with the Palestinian people and reiterate our unwavering support for the two-state solution as we recognize its potential to bring lasting peace and stability to the region," unquote. Mr. Speaker, sir, on 30th of December 2022, the General Assembly of the United Nations adopted a resolution requesting the International Court of Justice to give an advisory opinion on the ongoing violation by Israel of the rights of the Palestinian people, and Mauritius voted in favor of that resolution. I wish to emphasize that my government has taken a very proactive stand, and Mauritius is among the 57 states which made a written submission to the International Court of Justice. Mauritius looks forward to a clear and unequivocal advisory opinion which can lead to the acceleration of the process to find a long-term and sustainable solution for the Palestinian people. Mr. Speaker, sir, Mauritius commends all parties involved in the negotiations leading to the temporary truce between Israel and Hamas-led Palestinian militant groups in Gaza, which prevailed from the 24th to the 30th of November 2023. Indeed, the temporary ceasefire allowed the release of about 100 Israeli women and children and foreigners held hostage in exchange for about 240 Palestinians freed from Israeli jails. This humanitarian pause also enabled the conveyance of life-saving aid to civilians trapped inside Gaza. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to further inform the House that in the context of the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people on 29th of November 2023, I addressed a message to His Excellency Mr. Mahmoud Abbas, President of the State of Palestine, reaffirming that Mauritius supports all initiatives for an immediate and permanent ceasefire and calls on the international community to collectively address the crisis expeditiously and resolutely safeguard the just cause of the Palestinian people. I also reaffirm with great resolve our unflinching support for and solidarity with the legitimate struggle of the Palestinian people and their inalienable right to self-determination on the basis of the two-state solution, in accordance with all relevant United Nations resolutions. Mr. Speaker, sir, like other countries, Mauritius was hopeful that the recent humanitarian pause would have led to a lasting ceasefire. Unfortunately, hostilities in Gaza resumed on Friday, 1st of December 2023, with intensified Israelis' attacks across the north and south of Gaza, including in the southern city of Khan Yunis, with the loss of more Palestinian lives. We urge the United Nations Security Council to assume its responsibilities to maintain international peace and security, and to do what is needed to ensure that peace is restored in the Middle East and the senseless killing of innocent people stops. We firmly believe that this conflict can only end through peaceful negotiations and a permanent ceasefire in accordance with international law, with the United Nations playing a pivotal role. As such, Mauritius continues to monitor the situation and will maintain its commitment to support all initiatives that will bring both parties around the negotiating table with a view to ending this conflict and promote the Israeli-Palestinian peace process. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is worth noting that members from both sides of the House have expressed their concern about the situation in Gaza. I have now unveiled in detail the position adopted by my government all along. The House may rest assured that my government will continue to support the Palestinian cause and renew its calls for a permanent ceasefire in the region thus putting an end to all kinds of atrocities. Mr. Speaker, sir, at this stage, there is no need for any further debate at the level of the National Assembly. Thank you.
Public Bills first reading.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move that the Financial Crimes Commission Bill number 20 of 2023 be read a first time.
Seconded. Vice Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move that the Local Government Amendment number 2 Bill number 21 of 2023 be read a first time.
Seconded.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move that the supplementary appropriation 2021-2022 number 2 Bill number 22 of 2023 be read a first time.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I move that the Protection and Promotion of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Bill number 23 of 2023 be read a first time.
Honourable Vice Prime Minister Dr. Hasnu.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move that the Local Government Amendment Bill number 2 Bill number 21 of 2023 be read a second time. The purpose of introducing this legislation is to amend the Local Government Act to provide that the office of a municipal city council, municipal town councillor, and village councillor shall become vacant on the date of the publication of such vacancy in the Gazette, and to provide for matters connected and related thereto. Mr. Speaker, sir, local government plays a fundamental role in the country as it is a direct line between local communities, the elected councillors, and the central government. The municipal and district councillor are directly responsible for the provision of several important public facilities, such as the street lighting, the scavenging services, and development works. The proper functioning of this council is essential in order to ensure that the communities have access to such facilities in the most efficient and effective manner. On the other hand, councillors play a vital role as they represent the needs of the residents in their local communities and play a central role in community engagement. In addition, since councillors are elected by and are accountable to the local people, the interests of the citizen are protected as councillors serve as a conduit between their communities and the local authorities. As I had already informed the House on the 23rd of May 2023, I wish to reiterate that government has always been clear that there is a need for electoral reform in Mauritius, and this also entails the reform of the local authorities. In line with the proposed electoral reform, government has decided that a ministerial committee be set up, supported by a technical committee, and make recommendation on A, the local government reform in Mauritius, B, the advisability of creating additional municipal councils, C, the need to redefine the local government boundaries, and D, the advisability of holding local council election concurrently with or with the wake of general election, amongst others. Both the ministerial committee and the technical committee have met on several occasions and are presently working on this proposed reform. However, my ministry has observed an anomaly in the present system which needs to be addressed immediately in view of the fact that the stability of the group party at the council level and the seat of elected councillors are now being threatened by an unfortunate and an unexpected turn of events. The Supreme Court of Mauritius have delivered 3 judgments on the 19th of May 2023, which gave a ruling with regard to Section 37 of the Local Government Act, which deal with cases of vacancy in the office of a councillor by resignation, and Section 39 of the same legislation, which deal with a procedural aspect of declaration of vacancy. These cases are as follows. Mangapan A.H. versus the Chief Executive of the Municipal Council of QPIP, 2023, SCJ 191. Binda versus Chief Executive of the Municipal Council of QPIP, 2023, SCJ 192. And Menanda R. versus the Chief Executive of the Municipal Council of Vakwa Phoenix, 2023, SCJ 193. Mr. Speaker, sir, according to this judgment, once the Chief Executive of a local authority has been informed by the person in charge of the individual group, the president or leader, or alliance, that a councillor no longer belongs to that group under which he has been nominated and elected for having resigned, he be it expressly or impliedly, that the said councillor shall be deemed to have also resigned his office as councillor. Hence, he becomes automatically disqualified from holding office as a councillor under Section 39(1)(b) of the Local Government Act, and the Chief Executive is under a duty to forthwith declare his office to be vacant. There is no obligation placed on the Chief Executive to question the accuracy of the letter, nor is he statutorily mandated to carry out an inquiry or hearing. Mr. Speaker, sir, subsequently, my ministry has requested all the local authorities to be then guided by this judgment when receiving requests to declare seat of councillors vacant. However, my ministry has observed an emergence of a chaotic situation at the level of local authorities, with an increasing number of seats of councillors being declared vacant, based on an implied resignation, mainly at the level of district council, where we have a large number of different groups. In certain cases, the reason put forward by the leader of the group for requesting the seat of a councillor to be declared vacant are frivolous, and in other cases, no reason are given. However, as per the existing legislation and as per the Supreme Court judgment, the Chief Executive has the obligation to declare the seat of the councillor concerned vacant. This situation is severely hampering the smooth running of the council. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to remind the House that councillors are also elected representatives of the citizens of this country and greatly contribute to the democratic structure of the nation. As a responsible government, we cannot allow for such a situation to prevail, where based on a simple letter from only one person of the group, for reason known to himself, suddenly the seat of a councillor has to be declared vacant and the running of the council is hampered. Following the interpretation of the existing legislation by the Supreme Court, the position of the councillors had become unstable and at risk, as their seat may become vacant at any time. This situation is against the basic principle of democracy, and it gives an absolute power to the group leader who can decide the fate of any elected councillor without any need for a notice or consultation with other group members. The structure of the local authorities is at risk as seats are being declared vacant in an undemocratic manner, thus affecting the smooth running of the operation. Mr. Speaker, sir, this bill therefore provides for a person who has been elected as a municipal city council, municipal town councillors or village councillors shall be deemed to have resigned from his group, where he gives notice in writing to the appropriate chief executive, or his group give notice in writing to the appropriate chief executive that the councillor no longer forms part of the group. Where a group give notice in writing, the notice shall be duly signed by the leader, the president, secretary, and two other members of the group, certifying that the councillor no longer form part of the group, and the notice shall be accompanied by a certified extract of the minutes of proceeding of the meeting at which the decision was taken that the councillor no longer form part of the group. And the vacancy of the seat of a councillor shall take effect on the date of the publication of the notification of the vacancy in the Gazette. A central role of Parliament is to make new laws as well as making changes to existing legislation. Therefore, I make an appeal to members of this House to look at this bill as a necessary measure to consolidate democracy in the local government. We on this side of the House firmly believe that this amendment is vital as it has made provision for an additional layer of check and balances and will protect the right of councillors to represent their respective communities without the threat of their seat being declared vacant in an arbitrary, irrational, and unreasonable manner. B, protects the right of citizens of this country by preventing the seat of councillors that they have elected to be declared vacant in such a manner, and preserving the stability of the local authorities and their respective council. I wish to reassure the House that the population and the population at large that this initiative of the government to bring about amendment to this specific provision of the Local Government Act has not been prompted by any political motive whatsoever. These amendments are purely and exclusively motivated to safeguard the interests of the citizen. With these words, Mr. Speaker, sir, I commend the bill to the House. Thank you.
I call the next orator, MP Ramphal.
Monsieur le Président, en 2015, le ministre Osnu lui-même avait proposé des amendements au Local Government Act de 2011, connu comme la loi Aimé, afin d'empêcher qu'un conseiller soit arbitrairement expulsé par d'autres membres de son groupe. Aujourd'hui, Monsieur le Président, le même ministre nous propose des amendements pour réintroduire des éléments qu'il avait lui-même retirés en 2015 et qu'il avait lui-même qualifiés comme étant arbitraires, antidémocratiques et injustes. Je me demande si le ministre n'a pas cédé aux pressions de certains qui veulent à tout prix contrôler les conseils régionaux. Permettez-moi, Monsieur le Président, permettez-moi de citer un des objectifs du Local Government Act, le Local Government Amendment Bill numéro 5 de 2015. Pour vous montrer ce virage à 180 degrés, je dirais même 160 degrés, que l'actuel ministre lui-même avait présenté et que ce gouvernement avait voté en 2015. Et je cite, The bill also, regardez ce qu'ils avaient proposé comme objectif. The bill also provides that a councillor shall not lose his seat where he ceases to belong to a group otherwise than by resignation. Alors l'objectif des amendements de 2015 était très clair, Monsieur le ministre, qu'un conseiller n'allait pas perdre son siège s'il décide de ne pas appartenir à un groupe. Et après ces amendements, la loi prévoyait que 2 scénarios dans lesquels un conseiller pouvait perdre son siège. Either when he expressly resigns from his group, or so when he expressly resigns from his group, he has to give a notice in writing to the chief executive, or when he voluntarily resigns from his group. En ce qui concerne ce deuxième scénario, where the councillor resigns from his group, on avait tout compris, Monsieur le ministre, qu'il fallait y avoir une démission volontaire du conseiller. Ne venez pas parler de implied resignation. Oh, when the group thinks that by his conduct the councillor has impliedly resigned from the group. It was clear from your own intervention en 2015 that there must have been an express voluntary resignation by the councillor from his group. Only then his seat is deemed to be vacant. Je vais, de ce fait, Monsieur le Président, citer un extrait du discours de l'honorable Osnou, qui disait lui-même comment c'était antidémocratique de permettre à un groupe d'expulser un membre et en se faisant de lui faire perdre son siège comme conseiller. Puisque le conseiller, comme l'avait bien dit le ministre à l'époque, le conseiller est élu par les électeurs de son village. Il représente les électeurs, non pas le leader d'un groupe ou quelques membres de son groupe. Et let me quote the Speaker, sir. This is what the minister said. Madame Speaker, the Local Government Act, et il cite la loi Aimé, provides that whenever a councillor resigns from his group, he shall lose his seat as councillor. The Act also provides that where a group no longer believes that the councillor belongs to the group, it may, by notice, request the Chief Executive of the Council to declare the seat of the councillor vacant. The House may wish to know that since the last village council elections held in 2012, more than 10 cases have been entered by the then elected village councillors at the Supreme Court contesting the procedures followed for the declaration of their seats vacant. And this is what the minister said. They aver that they have been unfairly expelled from their groups and have undemocratically lost their seats with a view to ensuring that democratically elected councillors do not lose their seats in an unfair manner. Amendments are being brought to Section 38 of the Act to repeal the provision that renders the seat of a councillor vacant when he is expelled from his group. However, if a councillor chooses, c'est pour ça que j'ai dit, il faut qu'il y ait une démission volontaire. If the councillor chooses to resign from his group, he will lose his seat as councillor. Now let us see what the Honourable Minister is proposing with the present amendment. Section 37A1. This is what the Minister is now proposing. For the purposes of Section 37.3, a person who has been elected as a municipal councillor, municipal town councillor or village councillor shall be deemed to have resigned from his group where A. He gives notice in writing to the appropriate chief executive, ça a été maintenu, or, deuxièmement, B. His group gives notice in writing to the appropriate chief executive that the councillor no longer forms part of the group. So the minister, who in 2015 trouvait que la loi Aimé, en ce qui concerne l'expulsion d'un conseiller par son groupe, antidémocratique, injuste et arbitraire, aujourd'hui fait un virage de 180 degrés et retourne sur les mêmes provisions de la loi Aimé qu'il avait lui-même retirées en 2015. Extraordinaire, ça va même trouver ça. Je demande au ministre de ne pas utiliser comme prétexte les 3 jugements de la Cour suprême rendus qu'il avait lui-même cités avant moi pour justifier ces amendements, parce que ces 3 jugements ne font même pas mention de l'objectif des amendements passés en 2015, dont j'ai cité en haut. To do away with the provision allowing for the expulsion of a councillor by the group. Le jugement ne fait même pas mention du discours of the mover of the bill at that time. Je le dis avec respect aux juges. Had they been aware of the true intention of the minister, the judgment would definitely have been in favor of the councillors who were unjustly expelled, despite the amendments to the law. Maintenant, au lieu de clarifier la situation et de set the record straight dans l'intérêt de la démocratie dans les conseils régionaux, the minister instead is not only making a U-turn by reintroducing expulsion by the group, but is going even further to transfer the decision to declare a post vacant from that of the chief executive to the minister himself. The date that the vacancy takes effect is on the date the vacancy is gazetted by the minister and without any time frame being specified. Whereas under the existing law, there was a mandatory obligation on the chief executive to declare forthwith the seat vacant. So what will happen in the future, Mr. the Speaker, sir? If the ousted councillor swears allegiance to the government of the day, the minister may delay the publication of the vacancy until the election, or if he is from the opposition, his seat would be declared vacant forthwith by the minister. This is the situation that we are going to be in the future. Even worse, Mr. the Speaker, sir, I don't know if this was an omission by the drafters of the bill, but as per the proposed amendment, la loi, I won't say, la loi de Honorable Asnou, even though the decision to declare the seat of a councillor has been shifted from the chief executive to that of the minister, they forgot to amend section 39, subsection 3, to allow for a right of appeal against the decision of the minister to declare the seat vacant. Section 39, subsection 3 allows for a right of appeal against the decision of the chief executive. But now that the final decision rests on the minister, that provision has become obsolete. And the proposed amendment does not even allow the councillor to challenge the decision of the minister before the Supreme Court. What is even more rétrograde, Mr. the Speaker, sir, les amendements que le ministre Asnou propose va permettre à une minorité du Conseil de décider le destin de la majorité. As per the existing law, a group contains at least 9 members running for election and 6 members on the reserve list, making a total of 15 members. Under la loi Aimé, you needed the consent of at least a majority of the group to be able to expel a member. Under la loi de l'Honorable Asnou, a notice signed by the leader, president, secretary, and 2 members only. Therefore, 5 members out of 15 would be enough to expel any other remaining members of the group, and also for whatever reason. There is no need to specify any reason. We are in a situation where a councillor is elected by hundreds and thousands of electors from his village, but he may lose his seat by a decision of 5 members of his group. This is the situation that they are providing, Mr. the Speaker, sir. Alors, la vraie raison, c'est parce les vraies raisons de ces amendements, c'est parce qu'on est en train de témoigner une hémorragie des conseils régionaux en faveur de l'opposition. Both at the level of the municipal council and village council. Councillors are fed up with the way some councils are being administered and are bringing up motions of no confidence against the president or district councillors of their respective groups. At the municipal council of Bakwa, at the municipal council of Cupip, in Mount Albert, in my constituency, where there is a pending case before the Supreme Court. With respect to the court, I won't talk about the facts of the case. And more recently, in the village council of Poste de Flac, Brisé-Verdier, Camp de Mars, Trou de Douce, to prevent the members from voting against presidents and district councillors close to the government, the present amendments are being brought as une épée de Damoclès sur la tête, preventing them from going against their group at the risk of them losing their seats as councillors. This is the true reason for this amendment, Mr. the Speaker. Sir, I'm done. Thank you very much.
I now call Honorable Ariel.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I am privileged of the opportunity to debate and provide my insight on the local government amendment bill, which is being brought by my colleague, the Honorable Vice Prime Minister and Minister of Local Government and Disaster Risk Management, Dr. Anwar Hasnu. The proposed amendments to the Local Government Act, Mr. Speaker, sir, marks a significant step towards strengthening our local government system and ensuring the effective functioning of our municipalities, district councils, and village councils. As a former village councillor and district councillor, and having served 2 mandates as chairperson of the district council of Flag, I am acutely aware of the critical importance of these amendments. Yes, I can tell you that the Honorable Ritesh Ramphal just mentioned that there was a moment where councillors was the one who works for the betterment of the village council, and still they are doing the part of jobs. And today, if I am sitting here in this parliament, I am a product of the village council at that time. Mr. Speaker, sir, Mauritius, despite being a small island, has a long-standing reputation as a democratic country where free and fair elections have been a consistent feature since gaining independence. This commitment to democracy is evident at various levels of governments, including village councils elections, municipal elections, and national elections. Mr. Speaker, sir, the village council and municipal council elections are crucial for the functioning of local governance and democracy. These elections play a vital role in ensuring that the voices and interests of the local community are represented and addressed. The village council elections are crucial because they allow residents of villages to elect their representatives who will make decisions on local issues. The elected village councillors are responsible for managing and maintaining the affairs of the village, ensuring that the needs and concerns of the residents are taken into consideration. Similarly, municipal council elections are significant as they determine the representatives who will govern and oversee the administration of cities or towns. By participating in village council and municipal council election, individuals have the opportunity to choose representatives who will work towards the betterment of their local villages and towns. These elections enable community members to have a say in decision-making processes that affect their day-to-day lives. Mr. Speaker, sir, there is therefore a need for robust and appropriate legislation to ensure clarity, transparency, effective governance, and the protection of public interests within the local government system. Mr. Speaker, sir, I will now comment on the proposed amendments to the Local Government Act. But just, I will, one point that the Honorable Member Ritesh Ramphal just mentioned, that 16 members are allowed to take decision in a village council. It's not true. Only 9 village councillors decide about any decision that are taken at the village council level. Not 15 as mentioned. There are a reserve list, but the reserve list does not form part of the decision making at the village council. This bill, Mr. Speaker, sir, proposes to amend Section 37. I am just setting the record straight, as you mentioned, Honorable Ritesh Rampal. This bill, Mr. Speaker, sir, proposes to amend Section 37 of the current Act, which relates to the vacation of office by resignation. The current legislation makes provision for a councillor to resign, you rightly mentioned, from his office by giving notice in writing to the appropriate chief executive, and resignation shall take effect on receipt of the notice of resignation by the chief executive. It is worth highlighting, Mr. Speaker, sir, that as at now, there is no statutory obligation on the chief executive to question the veracity or accuracy of the letter informing him on the resignation of a councillor before declaring the post vacant. Mr. Speaker, sir, Section 37 of the current legislation also provides that when a person who has been elected as a municipal city councillor, municipal town councillor, or village councillor resign from his group, he shall be deemed to have also resigned his office as councillor. And when a person who has been elected as a district councillor resign his office, he shall be deemed to have also resigned his office as a village councillor. This is what Honourable Member just said. Mr. Speaker, sir, as a responsible government, we are addressing this issue through the amendments being proposed. We are working for the betterment and welfare of the population. We cannot allow some group leaders in the village council to constantly create instability and disrupt the proper functioning of the village council and municipal council. In a democracy, we cannot accept that the post of an elected village councillor is declared vacant just by a letter sent by a group leader to the chief executive. Can you imagine, Mr. Speaker, sir, a group leader who was not even candidate in village council election, listen to it carefully, who was not even candidate in village council election, has the right to declare the post of a councillor vacant, based on his own opinion and conclusion. When the latter, you just mentioned, has been democratically elected by the villagers. How is it possible, Mr. Speaker, sir, that some group leaders who participated in village council election but were not even elected, today has a right to decide the fate of a village councillor, when the latter has been democratically elected? Can you imagine how difficult it will be for village councils, district councils, and municipal council to function if group leaders or village council change councillors every now and then? Whether the candidate is part of the group or is no more part of the group, he is still an elected candidate, elected through a democratic process. This is why the proposed amendments are important. We need to ensure that justice and fairness prevail at all costs. The proposed amendment involves the repealing Section 2 of the Section 37, which states that the resignation shall take effect on receipt of the notice of resignation by the Chief Executive and the insertion of new section 37A in the Local Government Act. The new section, that is 37A, addresses the issue of resignation from a group. According to the proposed amendments, a person elected as a municipal city councillor, municipal town councillor, or village councillor shall be deemed to have resigned from their group if they give written notice to the appropriate chief executive, or if their group have written notice that the councillor no longer belongs to the group. The notice from the group must be signed by the leader, president, secretary, and 2 other members of the group, and accompanied by a certified extract of the minutes of proceeding, where the decision was taken. This is what you just mentioned, Honorable Ritesh Ramphul, as regard to the majority. This will ensure that the decision is properly documented and supported by a majority of members in the group, which is not the case actually. These proposed amendments will provide for a clearer process for resignations and will promote fairness, greater transparency, and accountability, as well as prevent any disruption in the system. Mr. Speaker, sir, the bill also proposes to amend of Section 39, subsection 1 and 2 of the current legislation, which will bring important changes to the process of declaring a vacancy in office. Instead, by the chief executive declaring the office vacant, the amendment states that the chief executive shall notify the minister in writing of the vacancy. The minister will then cause the vacancy to be published in the Gazette. The vacancy will take effect on the date of publication. The proposed amendment to Section 39 of the legislation will promote further transparency by requiring the vacancy to be published in the Gazette and the vacancy taking effect on the date of publication. There is a clear and defined timeline for when the vacancy officially begins, facilitating a smooth transition and timely appointment of a replacement. Mr. Speaker, sir, another important amendment being proposed relates to the date of vacancy. The proposed amendment in Section 40 of the current legislation suggests a change in the process of declaring a seat vacant. Instead of the chief executive being responsible for this declaration, the amendment proposes that the minister have the authority to declare a seat vacant. Furthermore, the proposed amendment suggests that the date of vacancy of office should be effective from the date of publication of the vacancy in the Gazette as stated in Section 39(2). This would replace the current practice of considering the date on which the chief executive received the resignation letter as the date of vacancy. Mr. Speaker, sir, the proposed amendment to the Local Government Act are a crucial step towards strengthening our governance system and ensuring effective functioning with our municipalities, district council, and village council. It is not only for the flag district council, as reported, or I would say misreported in some press articles. We are working for all the village councils, district councils, and municipal councils of Mauritius. The proposed amendment of the Local Government Act bears testimony to our commitment as a government to ensure justice prevails and to tirelessly work for the betterment of our citizens, regardless of whether they reside in villages or towns. Mr. Speaker, sir, as rightly stated by William Ewart Gladstone, former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, I quote, "Justice delayed is justice denied," end of quote. These amendments encapsulate the essence of our mission to create a local government system that truly represents the voices and interests of our people. I therefore make an appeal to members of both sides of the House to support the bill to contribute toward a fairer, stronger, and more accountable local governance system in Mauritius. Thank you for your attention, Mr. Speaker.
Members, I'll suspend the sitting for 30 minutes.